Welcome to Mindshift. I'm Brandon, and I have something just completely different for you guys today, and something I'm really excited about, hopefully even turning it into a series. Are any of you recognizing this intro right now? It is from the 1998 DC Talk song, Consume Me. And I want to talk about this song. If this series continues, I'll probably talk about much more modern songs, but the other day in an episode, I just brought up the song casually because I kind of remembered it, something sparked it, and I got the lyrics wrong, and someone in the comments corrected me, and when I saw that, I thought, wow, those lyrics are awful. How sad that young Brandon was listening and thinking this kind of a thing. And of course, this could be with anything, a devotional that you read, the Bible stories that we all grew up reading, the sermons we heard, etc. But music is so impactful. And it was such and is still such a huge part of my life. But definitely when I was still a Christian, I feel like music has the power to get things in deep down into the psyche. And so I thought it would be fun to have a series where we kind of deconstruct these Christian lyrics, a whole new art form for us to kind of look at and see what has been put out there and if it's based biblically, where they are getting these concepts from, and what does it say, and if these lyrics are problematic and why. So that's the loose goal. I have no idea how this is going to go. I'm going to pull up the lyrics to the verses and the chorus and the bridge, all of that, and we're just going to go through it segment by segment. That's my plan. Episode 1 here is going to be an experiment. We're going to go through this together. We're just going to see what happens. I don't even know how much of the songs I can play or if it's going to get demonetized or what, but I think under some fair use act, we should be able to review this song. So without further ado, let's look and listen. I don't think we can listen to the whole song, but I'll at least play this first verse for you. I actually do get like goosebumps. This song was so meaningful to me. Wow. That was an experience. I got to tell you, I still love this song. I think it's awful. I think the lyrics are horrendous, but I can't get over the nostalgia factor for me. I mean, actual goosebumps. And I can hear the Christian saying, that's the tugging of the Holy Spirit trying to pull you back. Nope. That's the same thing that happens when I listen to any other song from the year 2000, whether it's Lifehouse or the Goo Goo Dolls or Brian McKnight or Savage Garden or who knows, all of the other things I listen to. I love all genres, by the way, and I love talking about music. So I think this will be fun. This song actually has some pretty good poetry. So let's start breaking down these lyrics. Lovely traces, I can sense you in everything. Well, that's very clear. In fact, we see this all over scripture. One that comes to mind is Psalm 139. We get the same kind of admittance. God is absolutely in everything, that he has been revealed to us all of the time, everywhere we look. That's why no one has the right to say that they didn't have evidence of the Creator. This is other New Testament apologetics that comes into play. The way that you move me takes me far away. I think one of the things that I noticed in this first verse in general is all of the feeling. It's all about how it's making the person feel. What can this religion do for me? What can God do for me? There's a lot of very emotive language here. The way that you move me, take me far away, because isn't this the Christian ideal? To be taken away from this awful, lowly, horrible world, to be taken away from our lowly, sinful, nasty self. I want something better, something higher, something more perfect, something cleaner, and God is the deliverer for that. This whole song seems to be kind of a ode to the Psalms. So again, I think, we're lining up pretty biblically and it's pretty poetic. What are the next lines here? I'm overtaken by the way that you deliver me. I'm transcended. Once again, wanting there to be something more. This kind of reminds me of the video we just did in response to Theo Vaughn. Just there has to be something more. If you're telling me there's something bigger out there that will love me, that will parent me, that will care for me, like How can I turn that down? And here we have this feeling of transcendence. The way that you deliver me, I'm overwhelmed by. I think that's insane, because what is deliverance? It's deliverance from ourselves, from this life, from sin, at the cost of someone else's innocence, right? That's the gospel message that we were conditioned to believe is a beautiful thing. No, that's a horrible thing. If we actually did do something that actually deserves death, hell, annihilation, whatever, in what world would it be okay, beautiful, or fair to kill something innocent? Honestly, the further away that I get from Christianity and my time as a believer, the more clearly I see the sickness of this. It is selfishness. I don't want to pay my debt. First of all, I don't even believe we have this debt. But from the Christian perspective, I don't want to pay my debt. And that man doesn't owe a debt, but he just paid for it in the most horrendous way, supposedly. And so now I'm free. He's overwhelmed by the way that he was delivered. He should be overwhelmed. He should be sick to his stomach. He should be in awe of the evilness of a God who would put this debt on us in the first place and then pay it with the blood of his innocent son. Again, all within the Christian framework. I don't think I can take this long for every lyric. We're going to have to speed things up here. There's no place I'd rather be than here in heaven, because again, he's not in literal heaven yet, but he's been transcended. That perfect peace of the Holy Spirit must have filled him up, and poetically he feels like he's in heaven, and there's no place he would rather be. And this is a problem. When you have this Christian ideal that heaven, the thing that's better, the transcendence that comes, is all that's worth living for, you treat this religion like a drug. What happens when you're not in the middle of the worship service? What happens when you're not in the middle of feeling the presence of the Lord? You want it again. You don't want to feel the emptiness. You don't want to have to deal with your real problems. You don't want to have to deal with the hard parts of the religion, like forgiving other people and not holding grudges and being kind, etc. That's hard. Those things take work. But the bliss of heaven and transcendence, this is what we long for, and it can make us truly live in a similar fashion that addicts live, looking for the next high, avoiding our responsibilities, avoiding this life and our stewardship over this planet because of what's to come and how great it will be, like heaven. Without you, I'm incomplete. It's hopeless. This is the last line of verse 1, and it is the most disgusting line. We see this dependency on God, or this human incompleteness without God, all over the Bible. We are reminded of it constantly. How utterly sad to think, this will be cathartic maybe, of young Brandon, again, probably 11 or 12, the first time that I heard this song, singing to myself with a smile on, like I'm worshiping God, essentially saying that I'm broken. Without this higher power, I'm incomplete. It's hopeless. But Brandon, that's the great message of Jesus. It's not hopeless. It's only hopeless unless you don't have him, but you have him, or you could have him. Can you imagine if God had just made us like good, if God had made us capable, autonomous creatures that could get even better, that we could arrive at some new transcendence? Like, I think that's still problematic, but it's way better than I'm broken, I'm useless, and it's hopeless. Unless I don't want that for my children. Like, the fact of the matter is that my children of very young ages, it probably is kind of hopeless for them right now without their parents. But what I desire for them is to learn and grow and become capable and become whole and be able to take care of themselves and others. I don't want them to be forever dependent on me for actualization. Gross. Okay, then we get into, and I will play the chorus for you, and then we'll probably just look at the lyrics of the rest, because again, I'm not sure how much I can play. Here's the chorus. Yikes. That was the lyric that I got wrong when I was thinking of the chorus the other day, and someone typed it out. Anytime, any place. I thought in my memory it was, I see your face or something like that. And it's, you invade my space. And once again, this just shows us we are not our own. We are the puppets of this God, and there are no boundaries. He can read our thoughts. He can read our hearts. He can know that we have sinned based off of thoughts that we simply cannot control. We can control what we do with those thoughts or how long we think about them, sure, but we cannot control what comes into our head or our base level feelings, desires, etc. to a degree. How insane to think that this is a beautiful lyric, the main part of the chorus of this song, that we are consumed by a God, whether we like it or not, that at any time and any place he can completely take over and even, what a negative connotation, invade my space. Which again just plays into the Christian mindset that none of this is mine. Oh my gosh, I am nothing without God. Job 1:31, the Lord gives, the Lord takes away, but blessed be the name of the Lord, right? It's this same kind of a concept that, again, used to sound so attractive and so appealing to me. And now I see it for what it is. It is absolutely disgusting. Let's move on to verse 2. And I'm just going to read you the lyrics here. Wholly devoted, I immerse myself in you. Baptize me in your love, because drowning in the thought of you floods my soul. I'm taken by the things you do. God, you know, it doesn't matter what I lose. I'm yours. And again, I really appreciate the songwriting. Go DC Talk. From a Christian perspective, I know this is kind of a 2000 song and it probably the style feels dated, but this is really, again, pretty. And it's almost like, some of the love songs that you hear and you think, you know what? It's probably not a healthy relationship. Like it's a beautiful concept, and it's great that this person is desiring that person so strongly or feels that their life, doesn't have any meaning anymore without them. Like these are beautiful things, but they're typically exaggerations, right? The sad part of the Christian ideal here with these songwriting techniques is that this is meant to be literal truth and biblically based. And I think that's why it's so much worse to me than some of the also kind of horrendous concepts in other kinds of modern music. Wholly devoted, I immerse myself in you is the first lyric. And this is just about total submission. We see this in Romans 12:1. Paul uses the very strong verbiage, urge. I urge you to offer your bodies as living sacrifices unto the Lord. Wholly devoted, immersed in you gives me this same kind of a feel. We do not exist. We are vessels to contain God's Spirit. And yet at the same time, even our righteous deeds are filthy rags to him. This dichotomy is something I talked about in a video called The Divine Dichotomy. And I go back and forth, verse to verse to verse to verse, about this high place and this low place that we're expected to be in at the same time, and the dissonance that evolves from that. Baptize me in your love. Okay, fine. We're getting a little loose with the term baptized, but that's fine, because drowning in the thought of you floods my soul. I'm taken by the things you do, God, you know. What I would like to do, and I know that there's good Christian answers for this, but what does that really mean? Drowning in the thought of you floods my soul. Tell me, what parts of God is this individual meditating on where he just feels his soul just drowning in the beauty of God? And again, it's funny, like a little Freudian slip, the negative connotation here. What it is more is, I think a lot of times Christian artists like to just put as many like buzzwords, biblical buzzwords in. I think that's what this is. But again, what is this person thinking about that has just got them so enamored in God? Is he thinking about all the slaughter? Is he probably thinking about all of the rape that God commanded as punishment? Is he thinking about how women are second-class citizens? Is he thinking about the children that were stoned to death? What is he thinking about? Is he thinking about when Jesus turned down the Canaanite woman because he only came for the people of Israel, which is exactly consistent with the Old Testament God? It's clearly an in-group. There is a goal for essentially world domination through one group of people that have been chosen. I mean, tell me, what do you meditate on? A couple of the pretty verses in the New Testament until you understand their actual context and the whole of who this God is? I do not understand, unless we're just trying to be surface level Christians and add poetry, how anyone can rightly say these things about this God if they have indeed actually read what he supposedly writes and says about himself or inspires. I don't get it. It doesn't matter what I lose, I'm yours. Once again, complete subjugation. complete slave mentality, surrendering worldly attachments, as we see in Matthew 6:19 through 21, where it says that we need to be storing up our treasures in heaven and not here on earth. Again, Old Testament, New Testament, it is all about losing here now to gain there later. But if there is no there later, that becomes a huge problem. And why? Why do we have to? What a sick thing that God wants to make sure you spend your first 100 years of what will eventually become eternity proving yourself. And how do you prove yourself? Not just by following his commands, but what he assures you will happen for following him, that you will be separated. You will not be of this world, therefore you will not thrive in this world. Now that is counter to what all of the prosperity gospel teaching that's going on will tell you, but the original message of Jesus is very clear. Christians lose here, they win later. Yuck. That's verse 2. And that leaves us with the bridge. There's technically an outro. I'll just tell you the outro really quick. It is, there's no other way I can fly. It's you and I, you and I. This just gets repeated a few times. Once again, that feeling of truly wanting to be high. There's no other way to get this. The true pleasure in life that no drugs, no relationships, no love, no friendship, nothing can equal is just you and I, God. The experience I get with you and you alone, the feeling that that can cause, that's what I'm chasing. That's all that matters. Ugh. But going back to the bridge. In fact, let me see if I can play the bridge for you and not get in trouble here. Listen to this part. Goosebumps. Okay, so I almost don't even care about everything I just said. That's so good. It has like that Audio Slave electric guitar that's just screaming, and he's coming over the top with that beautiful scream. Yeah. Oh my gosh. I'm telling you, I love it. I hate it, but I love it. So I played some of the chorus there again because I forgot how hard they go. But let's get into the bridge. Let me get back to the lyrics here. I am in your hands under your command. Again, this whole song is just saying I'm a slave for you. It's like the Britney Spears song. But how sad to just think that this is the purpose of your life. And it gets worse, like a puppet on a string. Come on. Were they secretly like doing a satire on how horrendous the biblical Christian concept is of utter devotion? Like a puppet on a string. Lord, you know I am willing to put my faith in you. And it ends with, so before the world I sing, consume me, which a little bit of arrogance there, but not too big of a problem. So we have two things here. We have this admittance of God's sovereignty, or acknowledging of God's sovereignty is maybe a better way to say it. And we see that in Isaiah 55, 8-9, where we get the admittance that your ways are higher, your thoughts are higher, who am I to comprehend kind of a thing, right? So we'll just be a puppet. Why use our own thoughts? Why, I wonder, did God even give us this brain if he simply wanted us to put it aside and be these vessels, these puppets at his disposal? Truly, it makes no sense to me whatsoever. And then that last part, the public declaration of faith in front of the world, I'll sing, consume me, I think was these guys' way of ensuring their entry pass to heaven. We see a verse in Matthew 10 that I don't see talked about very often. And it's something like, whoever acknowledges me before others, I will acknowledge you before my Father. But whoever doesn't acknowledge me in front of others, I will dismiss in the same fashion. Something like that. I don't have all the words exactly correct there. But what a strange thing that God knows, supposedly, again, this isn't like actually how things have played out, that we will be martyred for our belief in him. And that's true for some people in some countries in some time periods. It is not true if you are a Christian in America right now. You are not persecuted for your belief. Really, you're winning here right now. But to have that as an idea biblically, and then for God to demand that you acknowledge him publicly in front of others, and then and only then will he do the same thing for you. Once again, conditional love, conditional forgiveness, conditional entrance into heaven based off your ability to suffer for him now. Oh, so that's it. I think this is hopefully a unique and new, interesting way to look at some of these biblical concepts and what Christians believe and what has worked its way into their media. And not only do young people listen, right? Everyone listens to music. But I think all of you can remember what it's like to be young and when you first really start getting into music and how impactful it is and how much, it's used as a device for memorization because it gets into you. And that's probably true for all people, but I just think about those young forming brains that are hearing this over and over and over. I was completely indoctrinated into the idea that my only mission on this planet was to live for God, that my losses were actually my gains, but just later on. The only goal was to spread his word, to publicly defend him, and to be a living sacrifice, to count it gain, to die. That's what Paul says. Christ to live, right? Is that right? It's Christ to live and to die is gain. If we only get this one life, this kind of a mindset is the worst one you can go through it with, which is a big part of my heaven video that so many people didn't like. But again, if this were true, it would still be gross, right? Like if this God exists, oh man, that's just sad that the greatest conception of love of all time feels this is the way he has to commune and accept us. But even worse is if this God doesn't exist, which I think we have evidence that he does not. These ideas have zero value, only harm. There is no upside. So I digress. That's it for today. Please let me know in the comments what you think about this kind of a video. If you'd want it to be a series, what kind of songs you'd want me to cover, a good name for the series title. And then tomorrow I've got my video on God and his emotions. I'm really excited to share that one with you guys. And until then, keep thinking. I wanted to personally thank my top tiers of support, my Iconoclast, and GVI, Jacob, Joe, Martin, Oliver, Perry, Rokkit, and Shawn, my Humanist heroes, Jarrod and Kristi, my Atheist advocates, Caleb, Sparky, Stephanie, and Todd, as well as all of my secular scholar patrons. If you believe in the mission of this channel or you simply enjoy its content, please consider joining these fine people. Thanks and have a great day.